Hey, what's up guys, it's Renaldo here. So this video is going to focus on this notion that has been created by mainstream media that people that want to leave South Africa for a better life in the United States aren't refugees. Now, I'm not sure where this notion came about, where you see politicians and mainstream media, when they report on it, always refer to these individuals as so-called refugees, or they use refugees in inverted commas. I'm not sure why they do that. I mean, obviously, we know why they do that. It is to diminish the term, making it sound like these people that want to find a better life for themselves aren't refugees and that they are just selfish or they're self-entitled and they don't really have any reason to be considered a refugee. Well, there's a little bit of a problem for mainstream media and for the government, because the textbook definition of what a refugee is as follows. It says, it's a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. It doesn't have to be all three. It doesn't have to be two of the three. It can be one. And ironically, persecution is underlined to put emphasis on it, not by me, but by the definition of it itself. Now, when you click on persecution and you go and check what it says hostility and ill treatment, especially on the basis of ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation, or political beliefs. Now that's very important, because mainstream media will have you believe that there is no persecution in South Africa. Of course, Afrikaners, more than other minorities, know this better than anybody else. And the reason I say that is because for the last 15 years, Afrikaners have had to listen to a song like Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer being sung, and the presidents over the terms have never ever condemned it. We've got a constitutional court that actually said it's fine to sing it, and now of course people will cite the Concord verdict as if that is the gospel. And my only response to them is, alright, so if you just blindly believe the courts, then I suppose you wouldn't have had any issues during apartheid when the courts ruled in favor of race-based laws that discriminated against black people, right? Yeah, thought so. Another example of this racial persecution continuing is just by me asking a very simple question. Have you as a white person been accused of being a racist purely because you've been critical of the government and what they have done in South Africa? Have you been told to go back to Europe? Have you been told that you're not South African because you are white? If the answer is yes, then persecution. Surprise, surprise. Now, another example of persecution against white people specifically in this country is just looking at the laws of this country. We've got 145 race-based laws that discriminate against people purely on the basis of their race or their culture. Now, I thought that we ended apartheid because of these type of policies. And before you say, Renaldo, redress, transformation, then all I've got to say to you is, all right, the first law that were based on race in our democracy was the Employment Equity Act through affirmative action and the various other race-based policies. Now, my question is, are we better off now than what we were in 1994 when it comes to the people that were disadvantaged? And every statistic tells us no, we are not better off. More people are unemployed now than at the height of apartheid. More people are living below the breadline than during apartheid. So I'm not saying that apartheid was a good system, but I'm telling you that laws that we are implementing in South Africa now are causing people that were negatively affected by apartheid to be worse off now than what they were during apartheid. That should send alarm bells off, shouldn't it? So here we are in 2025 with people being worse off now than what they were when we started our democracy. And instead of going, perhaps we should look at these policies and adjust it because it's not working. No. Our government and the media and people that support these political parties are saying, no, we need more of it. Keep it coming. How does that work? We've got policies that have demonstrated that they don't work because people are in worse off conditions, but yet, for some magical reason, the government is doubling down on these laws. And that is why we have more race-based laws now than at the height of apartheid. Now, the most recent example of persecution is what happened on the 16th of December 2025, when media houses and a lot of people on social media criticized Afrikaners for celebrating the Day of the Vow instead of Reconciliation Day. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Day of the Vow is a commitment that Afrikaners made in 1838 on the 16th of December to God, that if God protected them from the Zulu warriors that were coming to eradicate and kill them, that they would honor him every year on that date and build a church and build a monument in his honor. Now, since 1838, which is 187 years ago, the Afrikaners have kept to that commitment. Unfortunately now, since 1994, the ANC government decided that, hey, we're going to take the Afrikaners' most sacred day and we're going to put a day of reconciliation on that exact day, because that is also the day when Umkhonto we Sizwe was established in 1961. So, I mean, we can argue that, we became a new democracy, we wanted to change one of the holidays, but the question is, why did they choose the day that is most sacred to the Afrikaner? And why are they criticizing Afrikaners when they would rather go and celebrate the Day of the Vow with other people that share their beliefs and their culture over a day that has got nothing to do with God? Now, living in a country where 85% of the population are Christians, you would think that people will understand that a commitment to God that you honor every year will every single time be more important than a holiday that is just literally skin deep, in the sense that people will talk about unity, people will talk about how we need to come together as a nation, but yet their actions every single day clearly indicates that they do not respect you, they do not see you as equal. In actual fact, they don't actually even see you as South African. It's quite ironic though, because Nelson Mandela famously said, never, never and never again shall it be that this beautiful nation will experience oppression of one by another. And here we are in 2025 with 145 race-based laws, people being criticized for celebrating a covenant that they made between them and God. And then, of course, if you just look at what is going on in this country with how mainstream media is framing Afrikaners, how they are framing white people, how to this day white people are blamed for the state of South Africa in 2025, as if the government didn't have 31 years and 33 trillion rand over that period to improve South Africa and to fix South Africa. But instead of blaming the ANC for failing, they would rather just continue to blame Afrikaners, white people, and not look at the government at all for the failures. So let's do a quick recap. People can sing songs about killing you as long as you are white or Afrikaner, and the Constitutional Court won't have a problem with it. I would know, because I turned that upside down and I asked, how would it be if I sang this song and I got cancelled and mainstream media smeared me? But yet Julius Malema is still in parliament, and for the last 15 years he's been singing "Kill the Boot, Kill the Farmer." Double standards, right? Oh, there's no persecution here. Let's have another look. 145 race-based laws that discriminate against people purely on the color of their skin or their culture. There's no persecution there. Let's see. The most sacred day for Afrikaners now suddenly means nothing anymore, and we are forced to celebrate Reconciliation Day, or else we are the problem. That's also persecution. And the most disappointing part out of all of this is that mainstream media is just playing along with what the government is saying. Every single metric shows that South Africa is worse off now than what it was in 1994. But yet you will consistently hear the same arguments over and over again. Oh, we need to keep race-based legislation for redress and transformation, even though the last 31 years we've achieved nothing. And when you want to counter that argument, or when you want to say, how about we focus on economic standing rather than race, because then the overwhelming majority of black people will benefit, but also the poor colored Indian and white people that are living below the breadline can also benefit, then no, you're a racist. How dare you? You are the reason that this country is in the mess it's in, because that's usually the argument. As soon as you want to have an intellectual argument, then the counter is you are a racist. Shut up, go sit in the corner, know your place. The only way in which we all can fix South Africa is by acknowledging that there is a problem, and that problem is not apartheid's fault. Because for the last 31 years, the ANC government has been in control of this country. And as I've stated earlier, every single metric clearly indicates that South Africa is worse off now than it was in 1994. And in actual fact, it's worse off in some aspects to what it was during apartheid. And like I've said, I'm not praising apartheid. I don't want apartheid back. I'm just giving you the facts. So acknowledging that there's a problem is a great first step, instead of just using the race card that has always been used. Because ultimately, if we are going to continue looking in the rear view mirror as to things that happened in the past, then with all due respect, every single race can lay a claim to being treated unfairly. Because that is the truth. Even the Afrikaner. They were nearly wiped off the face of the earth by the British during the 2 Anglo-Boer Wars. Our women and children were placed in concentration camps. I mean, they had a scorched earth policy where they would burn the farms down. This is one of the things that you don't do during a war. You don't take women and children of the soldiers and put them in concentration camps. You don't go and burn the farms, but that is what happened. And yet, here we are today. And for some reason, mainstream media and the government think that black people are the only ones that have suffered in the history of South Africa. So if we continue looking in this rear view mirror, then it's needless to say we're going to have an accident, because we are more focused on looking in the rear view mirror than looking at what is going on in front of us. And if we're not going to be honest with each other and acknowledge that there are laws that are discriminatory towards white people, and we have a lot of people in this country that despises white people purely because they are white, then we're not going to get anywhere. Because believe it or not, there is an entire new white generation that had no hand in apartheid, was born after apartheid, didn't benefit from apartheid, and yet they are facing the same discriminatory laws. How is that just? How is that any better than race-based policies during apartheid? Ultimately, we will have to ask ourselves this important question. Do we truly want to move forward as a united nation? Or do we want to continue blaming people for the past and allowing this country to deteriorate to the point where nobody would want to live here in the future? Ultimately, it boils down to this question. Where does the legacy of apartheid end, and where does the failure by the ANC government begin? Once we can honestly ask that question and honestly get an answer to that question, then we will know whether or not South Africa can move forward and be the nation that we all want it to be. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, share this video far and wide, subscribe to this channel. And if you enjoy my content and if you enjoy this channel, then please consider becoming a member. You can do so by clicking the join button below. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Have a festive season and Merry Christmas if we don't see each other again. Till later, cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre.